and thinking about the next decade ahead, what do you think Reddit can be that it isn't today? And how do you get there? I'm curious.
In one word, universal. We have 100 million people on the platform every day. It's great. It's a big number. It's like 3 billion internet users every day, or 4 billion. Community is universal. Reddit is people talking about stuff. People talk about stuff online and offline. People want to talk to other people. They want to be with other people. They want to share a few laughs. They want to feel that sense of connection and belonging. That's what Reddit is. And so I just feel like we haven't even scratched the surface on Reddit, what Reddit can be. And then on top of that, there's Reddit now as a information source, as a knowledge source about everything.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Founders in Arms podcast with me, Imad Akan, co-founder and CEO of Mercury.
And I'm Raj Suri, co-founder of Lima and Tribe. Today we have with us Steve Huffman, founder and CEO of Reddit. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be here.
Reddit, what a journey you've had with Reddit now. So Reddit today is around 20 billion valuation, 100 million DAU. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. And so you started in 2005, and it's been 20 years. Are you celebrating a 20-year anniversary this year? Is there a big celebration?
Yeah. I assume it will be. I've seen these emails going by. Somebody's doing something.
Do you remember the exact date? Like when you launched it? Or when do you think of the inception date?
We started working June. I think we launched it June 22nd. And so I think we celebrate. It's somewhere in June. We'll call that the 20 years. But the 22nd is a date that sticks out in my mind.
One thing I've always wanted to ask you about Reddit is like, how has the journey been? Everyone knows Reddit today as, the primary source for kind of peer-to-peer sharing online, and how has the journey been? Obviously has not been smooth and up into the right. There's been some ups and downs throughout the journey, but how long did it take before you knew that this was going to be significant, or did you not know that until very recently? When was that moment? Because there's a trope right now in Silicon Valley that a consumer, you either know immediately, or you basically, it's not worth working on, right? But for Reddit, when was there ever a moment where you're like, oh, now this is actually going to be one of the top consumer apps in the world?
I can answer that both ways. The feeling I have most often is we haven't made it yet.
Mhm.
I still think we have not built the version of the product that we've been dreaming about. Whenever I use Reddit, I just feel like there's just so much work to do. That's been, I think, my mindset about Reddit for 20 years. Of just, oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do that. Oh, we haven't quite captured this idea or this or that. And so that's still the way I think about it. If I knew what I knew now, there's certainly signs very, very early on that Reddit was interesting. Like that Reddit was going to be big. I don't know, but that Reddit is interesting. Like that was as soon as August 2005.
Hmm.
I didn't realize this was special or hard to come by at the time, but we launched in June, and by August, the platform was kind of almost self-sustaining. Right? We had enough users that Reddit was full of new content every day, and we'd probably call that product market fit. When young entrepreneurs ask, like, what is product market fit? My answer now is, well, is your product growing and you can't explain why? That's definitely product market fit.
Hmm.
Um, are you working your ass off and your product is barely growing? That is not product market fit. And so Reddit was working in August of 2005.
Hmm.
That I now know is really special, but I didn't realize that for a long time.
Was it a year later that you sold it to Condé Nast?
Yeah,
Or
we sold, that deal closed October 31st, 2006. Um, but I think we decided to sell and maybe even agreed on the price by like March of 2006. So within a year, I think that deal is basically done.
Is the acquisition price public?
It's public enough at this point. I think it's reported as $10 million, and that there was a split between kind of the front end and the back end of of that deal, but that was the
Yeah.
order of magnitude.
So, I mean, even though you knew it was working, yeah, obviously 2006, 10 million was a lot of money for any web property, and
Certainly, we
we were all,
were like
yeah,
22.
yeah,
It was a lot
exactly.
of
We were
money.
all kids back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, like, what was the point where you were like, okay, that was maybe not a mistake, but like, yeah, the value was not captured. Like most of the value was still to be captured. There must have been another point where you were like, hey, shit, like I sold this thing for 10 million, but it's actually like the most important, one of the most important things on the internet.
That was more of when I came back to Reddit
Hmm.
in 2015. Right. So we sold after a year
Oh,
and a
that was a
half.
9-year period. I didn't realize it was so long before you came back.
Yeah. So we sold after a year and a half. I left. I had a 3-year contract with our acquirer, Condé Nast/Advance. I left at the end of that, and then I was gone for about 5 years. And so I came
Hmm.
back in 2015. And when I came back in 2015, that was, my mentality then was this thing is so special and could be so much bigger. Um, and but not only I think is Reddit missing the opportunity, Reddit is at risk of dying entirely.
Oh, really?
So somewhere between when I left at the end of 2009 and when I came back in 2015, it was like, oh, I think what happened was I was working on Hitmark, right? We were
Hmm.
selling plane tickets, and that was a brutal business. We n- we it's funny. We had a nice product. We never had product market fit. Um, we never really got the business going. And so that I think really put Reddit in the context of how this thing just kind of grows on its own. That's how special that is.
You said that like there was like an existential risk to it when you came back in 2015. Like, well, I guess you could see the bones were good, but there was like some serious problems. Like, what was the biggest issue?
So, I mean, the bones were great. Reddit, I think, had all of this really amazing content. And this was also during the kind of rise of social media.
Hmm.
And so I think this is where Reddit really started kind of to develop this position, maybe, uh, well, develop this position of Reddit is not social media, right?
Mm.
Social media is friends. We call it people you know and people you know of. It's very performative and shallow, I think, and authentic. And so that kind of made Reddit, I think, more and more make sense of like, this is the not social media place to be with people on the internet.
Mm. Mm.
Um, and so those are the bones. I think it was really, really special. People were creating these bonds and having these conversations that were just totally unique, I think, online. Um, but then we also had these communities behaving very badly and taking advantage of Reddit and getting on the front page. And so that was what was in the press. It was demoralizing to employees. Um, and so it was causing Reddit to develop a reputation that was both bad and I think, out of alignment with what the other 99% of Reddit was.
Mm.
And so that it was scaring people away and it was making people not want to work at Reddit. It was making users not want to be on Reddit. Um, and so when I came back to Reddit, I was like, okay, we got to fix this problem because Reddit is so special. It would be a shame if it was lost because, um, we can't get a hold of these kind of content and behavior issues on the platform.
That was a series of kind of content moderation decisions you made. I think some of them were pretty unpopular, if I remember. So I guess what did you do, and like what were your big lessons from that?
So Reddit in 2015 had no content policy, had no safety team, um, had, I think to my recollection, never banned a subreddit. Um, uh, Need perhaps one or two in kind of extreme circumstances. So we were really just starting from scratch. And these things were, I think, really hard ideas for the platform and for the company.
I mean, I'm sure when you started the company, you had a libertarian kind of mindset that like you don't want to censor things. Like
Oh, I
how
still
did,
do. Like that's
yeah.
still there. Um, when we started the company, that one of the kind of founding principles of Reddit is we are not the gatekeepers, right? We felt like traditional media was controlled and is controlled by a handful of people,
Mm.
um, various editors and powers that be. And so, and as a result, they're deciding what people get to think about. And so we wanted Reddit to be a place that was powered by its users, powered by its community, specifically not us, right? Our belief was we don't get to be the gatekeepers. We facilitate the conversation, but we don't control the conversation. That's still how we think about it. But we also learned that if you let a group of people torment everybody else on the platform and behave badly, then you don't have a platform, right?
Mm.
We're building a community platform. We're running a business. It has to be a place people want to be. And so there's, I think, a sense of decorum that's really important. Otherwise, people just won't be there, and our advertisers won't want to be there. And then there's no users and there's no business. And so it's when we make decisions regarding kind of content and behavior on Reddit, it's not about controlling what people can talk about and therefore think about. It's about creating a space that is a place that people want to join and be a part of and contribute to. And so, yes, there are limits, and you can see it in our content policy. Every word in our content policy was a lesson that we learned the hard way. Um, uh, but we've tried to come at it from the point of view of how to create a healthy, fair, but still as open as possible space.
It feels like very similar to like the journey that probably Elon has been on, running Twitter. He probably killed all the safety teams, but then realized that he lost a bunch of revenue and users because of that. Um, it seems like they're still learning that journey. I don't know if they've, but they'll probably come back a little bit towards more safety as well. You just feel like you just need to establish good guardrails for something to exist on the internet where people are freely sharing things like that. That's the right thing for all of these apps as well.
I can't talk about other platforms' decisions or motivations,
Mm.
but I know for us, it's really that simple. We want to
Mm.
have a place where everybody wants to be and feels like they can be.
Makes a lot of sense. And so, you were mentioning, you're going to answer this both ways, and you mentioned that looking back at it, you got to product market fit very early when you saw people were using it, consistently. Do you think there's this one idea of like if you have a brand on the internet, and the internet itself has grown a lot since 2005, that just riding that wave over the course of 20 years and being like creating a, as you said, like a controlled space to some degree, or like semi-controlled or pseudo-controlled, like that has been kind of been the story of it. Is like this is going to grow because people are going to use the internet more over the course of 20 years, and if as long as you create the right space for it and create a trusted brand, like has that been the formula for success, or has there been other aspects as well?
No, I think for any company to survive 20 years, you're not riding a single wave. You're riding multiple waves. And I think every day is a fight, to you don't just get to exist for 20 years. I don't think any company or anything gets to last that long. Any institution, um, or relationship for that matter. It's always work. So when I think about Reddit's history, I think I think it's kind of come in multiple eras. The first era was kind of call it Reddit as a link aggregator, um, and a community that was kind of built around conversation about other content on the internet. Right in 2005, if you wanted to find something interesting to read or enjoy on the internet, you kind of had to you'd go to a couple of blogs or websites you liked. RSS, I think, only recently came into existence in that era. And so just finding stuff was hard. And so that was the other kind of idea behind Reddit, was that let's let people bring interesting things they found and then vote on them and rank them. And then everybody can just, can show up to this place and find interesting things. So that's kind of that was the first era of Reddit, called the first 5 to 7 years. And then there was the era of Reddit isn't social media. And so social media came into existence after Reddit. Right? Reddit's basically as old as Facebook and YouTube. And this is pre-newsfeed Facebook, and pre-homepage YouTube. And so then social media, you know, Facebook with the newsfeed, Twitter, Instagram, Snap, later TikTok, they'd all kind of explode into existence and actually all grow to be bigger than Reddit. And there's a lot of conscious decisions we made, intentional decisions we made to not be social media. Some of it I made feeling somewhat insecure of like, oh, are we always going to be smaller because we don't build this like friends and follower model, for example. But I think social media in hindsight has helped Reddit make more sense. But if you use social media for a while and then you use Reddit, you kind of start to get, oh, this is why Reddit does things the way it does, because we don't have influencers and we don't want influencers. We don't want you to feel like you have to show off to your friends.
At what point in the journey did you have subreddits and subreddits became like a big thing?
We had subreddits almost immediately, but I was the only one who could create them.
I see.
So we had like 3 subreddits in 2005.
Yeah.
Users could create subreddits in 2008. And so that was a big moment for Reddit.
That seems like a compounding exponential, right? Because it's not just that Reddit's growing. Each subreddit is growing by itself. And then every now and then you have some breakout like Wall Street bets or something.
That's right. And so that's one of kind of the other, I think, ideas of Reddit is, right, let 1,000 flowers bloom. And so let users create these spaces. Human beings self-organize into communities. It's just a thing humans do, not just like online, not just on Reddit, but in general. And so we try to build things that will allow people to do people things and kind of follow their energy. And so that's like self-organization around kind of common values. That's conversations. That's, give and receive support, sharing a laugh. And so these are things that people naturally do, and Reddit facilitates them.
So you were saying there was the next phase, but the not social media phase. Is there a third phase, or are we still on that?
There's a third phase that I think we're entering now, which is the Reddit is not AI phase. So where a lot of the rest of the internet is being powered, if not outright created, by AI. And so you've got the way the search ecosystem is evolving. You've got, just being friends with AIs, right? Having these like long conversations about stuff with AIs, or using AIs for getting information perspectives.
I feel like there's almost a meta idea. At least I've noticed that the last 2 years, the internet's kind of become corrupt, right? Like Google is just completely dominated by SEO and like fake stuff, and then social media is completely dominated by misinformation. And I feel like now more and more I put Reddit at the end of my search results because I'm like, I just want like the real authentic thing, not the fake thing, which is almost like a meta level, which AI makes way worse because now the fake thing is so easy to make.
So that's exactly the way we've been thinking about it. It's like social media makes Reddit make sense, and now AI makes Reddit make sense. It's like the value of Reddit is that it's humans.
But how do you ensure it's humans, right? Like, is there something in place? I mean, I guess right now AI still sounds different enough that you can tell, but like maybe in a year or two, AI is going to sound just like a human, right?
That's a P0 issue for us, is the human verification and making sure that Reddit remains a place where you can reliably talk to other humans. Because that's
You scan eyeballs.
It's tricky.
It's an option.
You can fake eyeballs though. I thought
look, you can fake faces too. But right now, Reddit requires a username and a password.
Mhm.
We strongly suggest you add an email.
Mhm.
Um, I think we're going to have to be more intentional about how people get onto Reddit because it's the number one thing I see users worried about
Yeah.
is not just on Reddit but anywhere, like believing that what you're seeing is real. Um, and it's certainly an issue on Reddit. So I think very important for us to know the humanity of our user base and ensure it.
I noticed a lot more apps are asking for video selfies, including Mercury. Mercury asked me for a video selfie recently.
I mean, video selfies will hold for a bit. Like basically, like the current game is make it so it's sufficiently hard for AI that people won't do it, but like all those things will become easy. I think the only actual like long term solution is like KYC booths. Right, you have to like every metro area has like a booth, and you walk in there and you
It's
like
funny,
verify
like
yourself.
you just made fun of the orb, and then you just described
Yeah,
the orb.
basically that's the whole. Yeah, yeah.
That's it. I
But
mean, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess for people that don't know, WorldCoin has like an orb that they do a retina scan, but that only works if, I, yeah, I guess it's basically the orb.
That's the orb.
But you need to then keep the private key safe and stuff like that. It is
So,
complicated, but yeah,
but I mean, I think this is the journey we're on,
yeah,
right?
Mhm.
Is you uh certainly me. Sounds like maybe you. A lot of our user base, even a couple of years ago, maybe even a year ago, had a set of concerns about face scanning, human verification, IDs, and this and that. And then now we're entering this era where, look, we're going to have to make decisions and trade offs, and hopefully build products that are uh, can do two things at once: verify your humanness, but also preserve your identity or protect your
Hmm.
identity.
Hmm.
That is a very very important problem to solve for Reddit, but also for everywhere. I think that probably the leading edge will be platforms like Reddit, video game services, dating sites, but everywhere, like we entered the world, right? You can now deepfake anybody doing anything basically for free. That's the
Hmm.
world we live in today. Um, so I think we'll end up seeing a menu of options. Certainly, you'll see it on Reddit, a menu of options for doing different types of verification. Our priority is to be able to do that without ever knowing your name, right? Because we
Hmm.
still want people to feel safe being themselves on Reddit.
I see. Which is why you think the WorldCoin solution is useful. Yeah, you want some sort of like place that is trusted, that knows, verifies identity, and then it's like private from
Yeah,
your
third
perspective.
party is really important quality of
Yeah.
this. Because then we can preserve having some amount of distance between us and the actual identity of the person using Reddit.
I mean, it probably won't happen in the US, but India has a biometric ID system. Like
It,
you
it,
have
it
maybe
will
something like that.
definitely happen in the US. It's happening. It's happening.
Do you think the driver's license will do it, like
It's called
at a
TSA
government level?
pre. It's happening.
Mhm.
You're gonna
Yeah.
blink in a year and like your face gets scanned all the time now.
Yeah.
Sure. I meant like a governmental level thing that like
It's
100% of
happening.
people have.
It's called
Yeah.
TSA pre or whatever the frickin' they call it, global entry or the new one, the touchless ID thing. It's coming. Real ID, like it's happening.
Global Entry has face scanning now when you land at the airport.
Mhm,
Mhm.
okay. Maybe we just use all of that then. Um,
That's what real
what
ID is. You live in California. You already did it.
Yeah, I did do it. But like I can't use my real ID easily to like verify myself on Reddit yet. Like there's not good enough kind
Oh,
of
give it
APIs
like
around
yeah.
it.
I mean, we're gonna be compelled to do it through the age verification stuff.
Mm,
Check your
mm.
ID through this or that service. Like that law has been written uh, in the UK and in other countries. We'll have some equivalent of it in the US, I'm sure. Um, and then I think what's really important, and this is where we spend a lot of time with lawmakers, is kind of explaining to them the trade-offs. But whether it's third party or government or both, it is it is coming. And I don't necessarily a bad thing. We just need to do it in a way that's, I think, safe for people.
Talking about the other angle for AI, I think initially LLMs were trained on Reddit, and they kind of scraped Reddit and the rest of the internet pretty freely. Yeah, when was the point where you realized like, hey, we need to make this into a commercial opportunity, and rather than yeah, this is like free data for the world?
I don't know if that was quite the way we thought about it.
Hmm.
Um, so Reddit has historically been, and frankly still are, fairly permissive about access to Reddit. Right? Reddit's openness is something that's important to us, and we love about Reddit. We're the last platform that you can broadly access almost all of its content without being logged in.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and we've never, though, allowed, the intention was never to allow Reddit's content to be taken for commercial use. So our terms have always basically said something to the effect of, like, you can access Reddit, you're just not allowed to use it for commercial things. Um, and yes, every LLM has used Reddit content either directly or indirectly because it's like the largest repository of accessible human, you know, conversation and interaction and behaviors and all of this information on the internet.
Hmm.
And so our reasoning was, well, look, it's the cat's already out of the bag, or the horse is out of the barn, or whatever metaphor works here.
Hmm.
Um, can we clean this up? Can we do this on terms that are fair to Reddit the business? And can we put constraints on it that are respectful of our users? And so this is where we created our public content policy, which is kind of our framework in these relationships. So, this includes things like not reverse engineering the identity of our users, not using Reddit's information to target ads, um, allowing content to be deleted, things like that. Um, so it wasn't, it kind of, it's played out the way it has. Um, I think if I knew what I knew now back then, yes, we would have done, I think, a few things differently. But I think the general idea of that Reddit is broadly open, uh, we would not have changed that, right? We still do non-commercial free agreements to researchers,
Hmm.
big and small,
Hmm.
right? Because
Hmm.
we've always
Wh-
believed that the information on Reddit is valuable beyond Reddit, right? It's good for
What would you have done
research.
differently?
Um, I think we would have been uh, much more, I think, vigilant about scraping.
Hmm.
I think, institutions like Common Crawl sound noble, but they're basically data launderers. And so, they crawl Reddit and then they rehost and resell the data. Not just Reddit, the whole internet. Um, and so that means our data is out there being distributed without our permission, without our users' permission, with no terms on it whatsoever. Um, and they're not the only one. There's a number of groups like that. But I think we would have been m- much less naive about other people, I think, taking advantage of Reddit, taking advantage of our users.
It's a really interesting question, Steve, about the future of the business model of the internet, right? Like, how does this data get monetized? Do you think it's basically these AI companies monetizing their users and then paying like data providers such as yourself or other websites like some sort of license fee? Is that the way do you think the future evolves? Obviously, the search indexes are going to be very different going forward. Even Google now is starting to prioritize AI mode. Um, they just announced that in their conference.
I think it remains to be seen. Um, I think I can answer from Reddit's point of view, which is we'll always have, right? It's a platform for humans. And so ads will work, right? Because ads are the business model for humans. Um, I think a lot of the rest of the internet will change. It's just putting aside other content platforms for a second. Um, think about, like, okay, so the other company I did was travel search.
Hmm.
No human wants to do travel search, right? AIs in the relatively near future, they will be the main user of, Expedia and Priceline.
Right.
Um,
Agents.
and and so I think the internet will need to evolve to be AI agent aware.
Mhm.
Search is a really, really interesting one. There's lots of conversation about, oh, maybe the blue links are dead.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe for humans. We'll see how that plays out. But the AIs are definitely clicking on a lot of blue links, right? Just watch the LLMs work. They run a search and
Mhm.
they read all the links and then they summarize it for you. Um,
Mhm.
it just, but now the AI doesn't look at ads. And so I think, where the AI is the consumer of the web, then the business models will need to evolve.
Mm.
It's possibly ads, but it's more likely to be some sort of payment.
One thing that's interesting, and I'm sure, Steve, you see this in your data as well. At Mercury, we get more and more referrals from LLMs. So uh, it's not it's not quite close to Google level, but it's like growing super fast. I think it's like 7-ish% of our kind of customers come from LLM referrals now, but it was like basically 0 6 months ago. Uh, so
Through like
in some
MCP
ways, like
protocols or how?
just someone asks their their LLM like, what should I use for banking? And like Mercury comes
Oh,
up
I
and they
see.
click on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Now, here's a question.
yeah,
How did that information get into the LLM?
via Reddit, I guess,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
other
Mhm.
public sources. Yeah, I think the value of like the human curator is super important, and like presumably Reddit or other public human sources have to be the curator.
I don't know of any other public human sources, but yes, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know where else it would be. I guess like Grok would use X or something. But yeah, there's not that many sources of public human information. Maybe New
Mhm.
York Times or something, but that's like a
Podcasts.
pretty limited. Yeah, podcasts.
Mhm.
Yeah, YouTube and podcasts, I guess, like scraping all the
Mhm.
transcriptions.
Yep.
Do you get a lot of referrals from LLMs, or is that not like
It's
a major
growing.
source?
I think LLMs probably they're not designed to refer traffic,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and so it's a different dynamic. Um, I think the search ecosystem is just so wide open right now, and expanding. And so I think one of the most interesting things is not uh, necessarily like where people are running the queries, but what they're querying for. All of a sudden, there's just this explosion of things you can type in the search box and expect to get answers for. Right? We all kind of spent the last 20 years learning how to talk to Google,
Hmm.
Mhm.
and I don't think that skill goes away. Right? You still need to talk to Google because Google's the best at indexing the entire web. But now you can ask these like natural language questions uh, on Google and other platforms, including Reddit, right, through Reddit Answers, which is our version of the
Mhm.
LLM search. Questions that you couldn't ask a traditional search engine before and now get an answer to. And
Mm.
so I think just the number of queries and the range of queries that people are running has probably grown, not probably, definitely grown massively over the last couple of years. So I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely this whole class of things that Google was pretty useless for. That LLMs are great for. Uh,
Yeah, so we've got this LLM search on Reddit called Reddit Answers, and I was at a concert. I was at the Justice Show in San Francisco the other week, and I
Mhm.
was able to ask it. I was like, "How long is this set?" And I got the answer. It's 90 minutes.
yeah, that's great.
And so that sort of question, I would not have, no way I could get an answer to before on the last version of the internet. So I think that sort of thing is really, really powerful.
You were CTO at Hipmonk, right?
I was CTO.
I think Reddit. When you came back to Reddit, were you the CEO the first time or the CEO
We didn't
the
use that
second
title
time?
the first time, but yes, for the
Yeah.
first 5 years, I effectively ran Reddit.
I see.
And then I was gone, and the team the team was down to one person at one point uh,
Oh
uh,
wow.
during that time.
Just keeping the servers running.
It- uh, Basically, yeah. And so then I came back 2015 as CEO.
Um, what I mean, I always find it annoying when people say, "What are lessons learned?" Because there's obviously too many. What are like contrarian ways you run the company, where you don't see other people do it and you think they're like obviously the right way to do it, at least for you?
Um, I think, I mean, there's probably lots. I think there's so much uh, advice out there that conflicting, of course, right? You can find somebody with business or product or startup advice that takes like, the entire spectrum of the range of possibilities. Um, I think the most important thing that we did and the most important lesson that I've learned over the years is just to use common sense,
Hmm.
right? If what another company is doing or CEO is doing makes sense for you, then learn from it and try to emulate it. If it doesn't make sense for you, don't do it. There are many paths to success, right? The path to success for Facebook is very different than the path for Reddit, right? We're not trying to build Facebook or TikTok or social media. Those are very successful companies, but it's just not our platform. And it's not for us. And so I think a lot of the reasons we've done things over the years was just like it felt right for us. It was in alignment with our uh, at first intuition, and then later we had more explicit and documented values, and it'd be in alignment with our values. Um, and there were times where I was insecure about that, right? When social media was growing so much faster than Reddit, I was like, man, I guess we're doing it wrong. Uh,
Hmm.
and the VC advice is, why can't you be more like Mark, or why can't you be
Yeah,
more like
yeah,
Travis?
that's right.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's just not. I don't know what to tell you. Yes, they're very successful. I get it. I get why you're asking that. It's just not me. That's not us.
Right.
Um, so I think one of the things that's happened over the last 10 years is I think I and our team have become more confident in the way that we do things, being right for Reddit, um, because we can see it working. But it's taken a while for it to play out.
Did the way you do things change significantly when you became public, or was it like relatively smooth?
I think the process of becoming public, right? There's certain they're very specific requirements, right?
Hmm.
You need to close the books pretty fast. You can't have any mistakes. You need to close certain things. You've got all these just requirements to live up to that require a certain amount of discipline and rigor to do well. So preparing to be a public company has made us so much more disciplined. Uh, and then you get, I think, along with it, a lot of pressure, which I think is a good thing. Um, and so I think overwhelmingly preparing to be a public company and being a public company has just made us better and more disciplined. Um,
Guess one of the complaints that people make is the pressure is very short term. It's like how you're going to make the next quarter and what are your metrics, etc. Is that not something you felt?
totally. Yeah. I mean, I have to talk about Google on every earnings call. I don't like doing that. So, but the way to not do that is to make Reddit, have more diverse sources of traffic, to make Reddit better, to grow, logged in high quality users in a significant way. Um,
Mm.
so I think, sometimes, yeah, investors, they all say they're long term. Actually, they don't all say they're long term, but I'd say 90% of the ones that do say they're long term are also short term.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, that is, but that's the game. Um,
Hmm.
to grow over the long term, you also have to grow in the short term. So I think you're always confronted with these decisions, not just as a public company. Is this in the long term best interest of the company? Yes. Well, then we should we should be doing it. No? Well, then we probably shouldn't be doing it. Okay, but can we do it faster?
Hmm.
That's always, I think, the way we want to be thinking about it. So, uh,
It's good pressure.
yeah, and there's always things to complain about
Hmm.
as a private company, as a public company.
Is there things you've done differently as a public company? I know you guys pre-IPO tried to sell some shares to kind of the Reddit community. Is there
Mhm.
other things you've done post-IPO that have uh, tried to set up the governance of the company in a different way that like was more true to Reddit, or any other
Um,
kind of lessons you've tried to apply?
letting the users be investors was a big reason we went public, right? Our
Hmm.
users have this deep sense of ownership over Reddit, and I wanted them to have the opportunity to actually be owners of Reddit.
Hmm.
And so now many are. And I'm very, very happy, uh, very happy with that. I think it's something at Reddit we're all very proud of.
Hmm.
I think just being a public company, right? What does a public company means? It means in many ways you're more transparent and the ownership and control is more distributed. Well, those are like very Reddit ideas, right?
Yep.
Transparency and
Hmm.
decentralization. Like those are kind of important concepts in the platform of Reddit. And so I think they map pretty well to being a public company, as opposed to a private company where your investors are just a handful of people. That's kind of more of like the gatekeeper institutional model that was the reason we started Reddit, was a reaction against that in media. So
Hmm.
uh, I'm very happy we were able to do that. And the way we still try to do things as a public company is we take a couple of questions from our community on the earnings call. We do a follow-up AMA response video answering only questions that were posed to us on Reddit. And I'd love to find ways to do even more of that. I think
I
we're
was talking to Vlad, the Robinhood CEO,
Mhm.
and obviously for them, community ownership is also a big deal. He says every earnings call, they also produce content for the community. So they do like TikTok-like videos explaining the earnings call that they release to the community. I thought that was kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, I think they did a really nice job at that. They were a few years in front of us, and they had a very big retail component in their IPO as well, which we tried to emulate. I
Hmm.
was on a call with some of our moderators a couple months ago, and one of our longtime mods, he framed the question as basically, as a shareholder, why don't you fix, XYZ? And I was just like
You're like winning.
so happy. I was like, because the idea, like I want to do line incentives, right? We want this thing to grow. And so
Yeah.
when I had an OG mod preface his question with as a shareholder, I was so excited.
Yeah. When we did our Series B, we had about 3,000 customers invest in a crowdfund thing. So you can do it as a private company as well, but there's lots of constraints and it's limited to a few thousand.
If you have a successful private company, I think you have a duty to go public,
Mm.
not just to your employees or the investors to whom you probably said you would given the opportunity, but to allow the public to invest in the growth of successful companies in America. I think that's a very powerful idea.
I
Um,
do think the the depth of the private market has reduced the incentive. So we just did a round, and a significant part of the round is a secondary, and both existing employees, some former employees, got the opportunity. So, and like these private markets are so deep that you can't. I agree with you from a customer ownership perspective. It's not quite there, but a lot of the other incentives to going public have been removed, at least from my perspective. It seems much simpler and easier to just be a private company for longer.
that is for sure true, except you don't have a real valuation and you are excluding people from being investors in your company. Yes, you can
Yeah.
you can do secondary and you get to control your investors. All those things are nice. Um,
But a
but
true valuation, I mean, I think the second one is a true con. Like I would love Mercury customers to be honest, but a true valuation that also has a pro and a con, right? Like you know, having a daily valuation is can, there was a time where Reddit was down quite a bit, right? Like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
can be demoralizing as well.
we were down and up and down and up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I love it. I love it.
You do?
I
Mhm.
think I'm almost
What is it you love about it? Like it seems
it's
it seems
fair.
like
It's the
work. Yeah.
market,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
It's
You just want to be valued according to the truth, and you feel like
I
it
guess
gives
I
you
shouldn't say it's fair. It's always unfair. Like,
that.
but it's a
It's
real number.
transparently unfair.
Um, Look, of course there are trade-offs in the volatility and the way employees think about it or investors think about it. Uh, but it's a free market. I think that's very, very powerful, and I think it's good to know where you stand. It's good to know what people think about you, whether they get the story right or not. I think it's our job to make sure they get the story right. Uh,
Hmm.
and I think so having an up to the second, up to date scoreboard is very, very helpful because the market is
Yeah.
telling you what they think and what they believe you should focus on. And if you agree with them, then you know what to do. And if you don't agree with them, then you know what to do. Uh, and so I think that feedback is very important.
Reddit could easily be like meme stocky. Is that something you want to avoid? You want to avoid kind of, this kind of some of the meme stock elements, or is that something that you're like, if it happens, it happens?
It's a consumer brand.
Look, I think all things equal, we want a fair valuation.
Hmm.
We want the market cap to reflect um, the value of the company and that people believe in the future of the company. Now, this is like some frictionless universe stuff. Obviously, it doesn't always work out that way. Um, but I think our style has been to be as transparent as possible. What's going right, what's not going right, what we're excited about, what we think the opportunity is, and run a great, healthy business.
Hmm.
And so you can see that in our efforts to have a very healthy margin, to get to profitability and stay there, to grow revenue faster than costs. We're trying to build a great business.
I mean, I feel the same way. I feel like a lot of CEOs don't at least seem to behave that way. Like I think there's plenty of CEOs that want to pump their valuation and go out of their way to do that, and sometimes they can parlay that into like more success.
This goes to my answer to your question previously. We can only behave according to our values
Yeah.
and use our intuition and common sense and talk to our investors the way we would want to be talked to, which is to be as honest and forthright as possible and to build as amazing and healthy a business as we can. That's how we do it. And that's how the companies that I think we admire do it.
Hmm.
Steve, switching gears a little bit, one last question for you from my side is just like, you mentioned that you feel like you still haven't made it in Reddit. There's still a lot more to be built. And, and as you're entering the, your 20-year anniversary and thinking about the next decade ahead, what do you think Reddit can be that it isn't today? And, how do you get there? I'm curious.
In one word, universal. We have 100 million people on the platform every day. It's great. It's a big number. It's like 3 billion internet users every day, or 4 billion. Community is universal. Reddit is people talking about stuff. People talk about stuff online and offline. People want to talk to other people. They want to be with other people. They want to share a few laughs. They want to feel that sense of connection and belonging. That's what Reddit is. And so I just feel like we haven't even scratched the surface on Reddit, what Reddit can be. And then on top of that, there's Reddit now as a information source, as a knowledge source about everything. And so revealing that with search and how search evolves, we've not even scratched the surface on that either. So there's just, I think on our core product, there's so much opportunity. And then on the future opportunities, we've barely begun. So I think, we at Reddit, it feels truly like the beginning. I think the energy at Reddit is very similar to the energy of a company in its first months. It's just like there's just so much excitement.
That's great.
Is there anything you do to keep that kind of startup vibe kind of going at what is a pretty big company at this point?
I mean, I'm just genuinely excited about Reddit.
Right.
Um, and so I if that's what you mean by startup vibe, which is we're all super optimistic
I
about
think
the
that's one part
future.
of it. There's also like, willing to do things quickly, have urgency around it. Like there's a whole set of other things.
I think the willingness to do things quickly and that sense of urgency come from if you want those in a sustainable way, it has to come from a universal belief across the company that what we're doing is important and our ambition is huge yet possible. Um, because people, I think, want to have a sense of purpose
Hmm.
and people want to win. And so I think at Reddit, like that energy comes from a belief that the opportunity in front of us is special and sacred and not to be wasted. Uh, and that and that getting to where we want to go will be something that we're all, I think, incredibly will feel proud and fulfilled to have, been a part of. And so I think that's the source of that energy. I think that's what you get at a startup. Now, at a startup, you also get, um, all sorts of craziness and unprofessionalism and this and that. That we've grown out of. I hope. Um, there's still some craziness and unprofessionalism, I suppose. Uh,
All right. We should
but
probably end it before Steve says
yeah,
something
before
bad.
something stupid. But I think like it truly feels like the early days for us, and I think that's what makes it so fun.
Yeah. I have one last anecdote for how Reddit's helped me recently.
Yeah.
Recently, I'm in China right now. Unfortunately, lost my mother-in-law recently, and just looking at how to deal with this type of issue. So I looked on, talked to the AIs, like how do you deal with the loss of a loved one, and the AI gives you some stuff. It's good stuff, but it's like generic, right? But what really added a lot of value was actually going to Reddit and seeing the stories of people who have lost, a loved one, and what they've shared about that, their personal experience. And that type of content in long form where you had a variety of different people sharing their views was really, really important to me. Like it was like, and it was something you couldn't really get anywhere else. So, thank you, Steve, for building this great company and getting that great content out there for folks like us to consume. So,
It, it's uh, it's it's incredible how incredible people are, isn't it?
yeah. Yep. I'm there with you. I think the internet can be more human, and it's going to, in the age of AI, humanity is even more important than ever. So,
Yeah, 100%. Cool. Thanks for joining, Steve. And see you all next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate this. Be well.
yeah, it was fun.